Aloha all, it's Rick Bassman up here in the upcountry of Maui on a beautiful spring day. Man, it feels like it's pretty dramatic spring this year. This world's been going nuts. I don't need to say any more than that. We all have our own viewpoint and experience of that, certainly. One thing I think we saw though across the board that we can all agree on is there's been just so much negativity and so much doom and gloom everywhere we look, whether it's talking to our neighbors on the street, the mood we see in our town, wherever it is we may live, social media, however you get your news. It's just so much negativity everywhere. And I don't know about you all. I sense a change coming. I hope there is one coming. It's led by certain types of people, I think. And we saw those people, I think, emerge at their brightest during the recent dark times that we've had. Now, what could be worse than experiencing what we experienced these past few years here in this country, watching the mood deteriorate, being affected by COVID, all the isolation and depression that comes along with that? What could be worse than adding, I'm sorry, a life-threatening cancer diagnosis to the mix? And people that went through that during these times, some of them emerged, in my eyes at least, as true heroes and true shining lights, true examples of the human spirit. And these are people that came at and accepted, not accepted, they certainly accepted, they're fighters, came at and faced what they had with not only resolve, but with such like a positive spirit that they couldn't help but motivate and inspire the rest of us. One such person is someone I've had the pleasure of meeting just recently who's really gone through it. And in other aspects of her life still is, aren't we all? But in my limited experience with her so far, and I hope we'll become better and better friends, my take on this person is just a genuine joy for life, an inner strength, a deep and fierce intelligence that takes in what's around her and meets the negative with any positivity that's available. And with that, I am happy to introduce today to our Talking Tough and We Win audiences, my new friend, Benita Butler.
hmm Hello, everybody. I'm Mr. Rick.
Hey,
That was
Benita.
so sweet what you said about me, and I was just nodding because that is, I feel exactly you like said everything that I would probably say about myself. To be honest with you.
Oh, good. I scored a point so far. Yay.
Yeah.
It's funny because I typically don't do much prep for these things. Only because I want them, not because I'm lazy, although that might be part of it, but it's more because I want them to be real and be organic. So I
Mhm.
put zero thought into what I said prior to the introduction. So I was just speaking, organically from what my take is about you. And I'm glad we're so far so good. Okay, that's what I thought. All right. Uh, what's going on in Florida? What's happening today?
Nothing I mean, like I have been trying to keep myself busy, and today was a day that I wanted to just take it easy. I recently moved in with my mom, and just kind of got my own little space outside of her home, made my own little she shed. I'm in my beehive, the beehive. This is what I
Beehive,
call it.
Benita, nice.
Yeah, yes. So I've been in it a week now, and it's a nice space, and yeah. So I just put a lot of energy into it, and my body just needed a break. So today I gave it a break, and I just went to the place where it's like my little gas station. Is where I refuel and re-energize, and so I feel great now. I had a nice beach day.
Oh, you're at the beach. Okay,
Yep.
cool, cool. And did you get into the water today?
I did. I did. It's for me, being a Floridian, it was cold. We normally don't, the Floridians normally don't get in the water until like the end of May, pushing
Right.
summer. But it was nice today. It was nice and chilly. It was like refreshing. So I did get in once, like a just nice little for me.
Well,
And then yeah. So
Benita, you picked the SHIT out of cancer. I think you could probably handle a little cold water, huh?
no, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
You weren't crying like a baby the whole time.
No, no, no. I just did it. You got to just go in, just do it.
Yes, yes.
And then
Yeah,
you good.
when I lived in San Clemente, this is in Southern California. My office was a 2-minute run from the ocean. And the
Mhm.
reason I know it's a run is my two workers, Todd and Anthony, they were commanded, this was a order from the top, which was me, to
Mhm.
bring their board shorts to work every day.
Oh,
And at a certain point of the day, we'd be like, okay, let's go. And we'd change, we'd sprint down the hill and dive into the water. It could be pouring rain and freezing. And it's just something we did every day. Well,
mm.
kind of like for the mental exercise more than anything.
Yeah.
And I know you know something about that. I know you
Oh.
know.
So you're
So,
um,
sorry, what's that?
I call it like beach bums. Like we go, like we just go to the beach. We love the beach. We live kind of like, sound like peace of mind.
Yes, the ocean does bring that, and I want to get into all what can bring people peace of mind when they're facing tough times, and we will get into that for sure. But I
Hmm.
would love if you wouldn't mind to tell us, for lack of a better way to phrase it, your cancer story. And please don't pull punches. Don't worry about making it sound easier than it was. Feel free to go the other direction. And the reason, because I know your story and I know how hard it was. And the reason I sometimes would encourage you, anybody on the show, to say, make it sound awful, as long as it's truthful, of course. I would say make it sound awful because people out there who are in it right now, what they're going through to them is the worst thing in the world. And I know you know that feeling too. And I think it's good when they hear from people like you, from in graphic, gory detail about what it was like, because they go, oh, but look, she's doing so great now. She went to the beach.
Yeah.
She looks amazing. So let us have it, please. Tell us.
All right. So yeah. So my name is Benita Butler. I'm 39 years old. I turned 39 April 3rd. What, 4 days ago. I have three children, and I was married 17 years. I am now going through a divorce. Hopefully, it should be everything done at the end of the month. Let's rewind a little bit. So, you know, about let's say 2017, me and my husband, we were having a disconnect. We knew our time was kind of like we were just kind of going our own, like it was just mentally everything was just, so anyway, we decided to have a little separation. Like, let's just take a break. Like, you can hear, you just go to your mom. We'll still deal with the kids. Like, they won't really even really. We had a very busy life. The kids are all in sports. I'm trying to be team mom. He's trying to coach on the side, and we were both working. It was just like it was for me. I was like, oh wow, okay, I get some peace. Like, not peace, but I'll be able to like just go and have like that me time and then still, be back and forth. It worked great. In the midst of that, I did get a breast augmentation as a nice treat for myself after having three children. Just a revamp, I did that before we separated. During the time before we separated, right before, I was massaging my breasts. When you get them done, they're nice and firm. They tell you to massage, like just I felt something, I felt something hard, like, and it was just like it didn't hurt. And I was pushing on it. And I'm like, what is this? It's at the bottom of the right portion of my breast. And I'm like, what is this? And I thought it was like maybe they dropped something like a piece of metal. Like when they did the surgery, it felt like hard as a rock, like, and it didn't move. It was like in one spot. It didn't, I was like moving, so and I brought it to the doctor's attention, and they had mentioned something about scar tissue and just, I'm so super healthy. Blood work came back great. No cancer in the family. Just my grandma. I just celebrated her 83rd birthday on the first, April 1st, with her. Took her to lunch. She walked right in. So everybody's doing well in my family. So they brushed it off. I brushed it off. So here it is. I ended up separating from with my husband, um, coming to my mom, just started, telling myself, okay, I'm gonna travel a little bit and just seeing I just started just doing things, living a little bit. And then I noticed that nodule was like getting bigger. I would lift my arm and I would see the nodule like coming out of my breast a little bit, and I'm like, it still didn't hurt, but I knew something was
Yeah,
wrong.
you
It was growing.
at that point something's wrong there. Yeah,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
And I wasn't sick. I was still very super active, starting to travel a little bit. And so anyway, I pushed for more tests, and I went in, did a little the ultrasound. They did a little ultrasound. So speaking of, in the midst of that time, I had already traveled to Dubai. I went to Africa. I went to Jamaica, and went to a nude resort. I did that with a girlfriend, and we just like a mommy trip. Like, it was nice. Right after that trip, that's when I came in and went in and did an ultrasound and a biopsy. Went in like, everybody's like telling me, oh, it's gonna be benign, you're healthy, you're beautiful, you're hearing that and all this. So I'm a few days later, I got called in for the results. I'm thinking they're gonna tell me it's benign. I'm gonna go on about my day. Had a list of to-dos, to go in there and get this result and go about my day. And when I went in there by myself, just sitting there thinking it's going to be in and out, the doctor did come in there, and that's when they told me that I had cancer, and I almost fell out the chair. Like, I was in complete shock. Like, what? I'm like, didn't know anything about cancer. Didn't know a soul. I don't. To this day, I don't even know many people that have cancer. You know what I mean? Like, that I can talk to. But
I'm sorry, I might interrupt you a few times. I tend to do that.
oh, you're fine.
I think you want to back up for a second. So you went in and you got the news. So you said you were in complete shock. Can you really, if possible, I know it kind of puts you on the spot.
Okay.
Can you go into yourself a little bit for a moment and
I yeah.
download what that really felt like and what you were experiencing at that moment?
Okay. So I basically, when she told me, first of all, I was a little upset because I was waiting in there for 45 minutes. I'm like, dang, what's taking so long to tell me I'm good and so I could go, So when they came in there, and then that's when she came in, and she was shaking her head, and I'm looking at her, and she's like, you have cancer. I'm sorry to tell you. And I'm like, what? And then all I know is I just remember I went off on her. I didn't know this doctor. I went off on this lady, and I told her she didn't know what the hell she was talking about, and I wanted a second opinion, and but she was like kind of telling me that she thought I found it early, and that she didn't even think I was at the first stage. It looks like more of they can go in. So she started just talking like what we could do about it, and I thought that was, she didn't even really give me a chance to process, because all I remember hearing her say was, oh, we can go in and we can take the nodule out, and or we can remove the breast. And in my head I'm like, wait a minute, I just paid like, these boobs, they're not even like 2 years, a year old or whatever, and I was just like, what, wait a minute, take my breast. And then she said, well, to be really sure, we could take both. And I'm like, that's when I was like, wait the hell a minute. Like, I was like, wait, I just remember going off on her, and I just told her that I wanted a second opinion, give me my paperwork, I'm out of here. And like, she was just kind of afraid, and she just went, opened the door, and was like, hey, give her paperwork, whatever. And I just took my paperwork, and I went into the car, and that's when it hit me. It hit me like I couldn't even drive the car. That's when the tears, and I started crying, and I went into complete shock, where something told me to just get home, get home. Like, I started driving so fast that as I pulled out of the hospital, not even a minute away from the hospital, I got pulled over by police in a motorcycle. Yeah. And then when he came up to my car, I was in complete shock, and all I did was unroll the window, and I was like, I have cancer. I just said that to him. And he was just like, what? And I was like, he asked me for something, but I ended up handing him the paperwork that the doctor gave me to him, not processing that he was asking for my license. Yeah. Right. And all I know is,
registration, please, ma'am.
yes. So he took that, and he was like, wait. And he held it, and he was just like, wait. He's like, I said, I just came from the hospital and he told me I have cancer. And then I'm crying. And all I remember him saying was just, ma'am, just calm down. You just, just calm down and give yourself a few minutes. And he stood there and he was just like, are you going to be able to make it home? Do I need to trail you home? Do you want to follow me or whatever? I was like, no, I'll make it home. I'll slow down. And
Nice.
then
How
he let
cool.
me, yeah, he let me go.
Nice.
I know he said I was doing like 20 over, like, because I just was
Well, you know
driving in
what?
shock.
It's nice to
Yeah.
hear stories of intermittent decency amidst all the madness, especially,
Yes.
especially with law enforcement, given this day.
Yes.
So
Oh,
that's
I was definitely getting a ticket when they pull you
well,
over the motorcycle.
you know what? That's your first blessing right there of your
Yeah.
life.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll never forget that.
All right,
So,
and then what happened?
I just remember calling my mom first.
Your mom was your first call.
Yes. And then my soon to be ex-husband was my second call.
How did that
And
go?
then, um, I mean, he was in shock. I mean, he could have came to the appointment with me, but he had like work obligations, but he was actually working from the house that day. So in my mind, I think I had made everyone believe that it was going to be like benign because I just, I didn't like that it wasn't going to come back that I had cancer because I didn't even push for him to come to the appointment with me. I was just like, oh, don't worry.
I want to back up again. I'm sorry. This
And
is
my
something
mom,
I find, and it's a topic that comes up a lot. The topic of fear associated with a potential diagnosis and all that sort of thing. We talked about it on the phone the other day a little bit. How we both had recent scans and how we deal with fear, if we deal with it at all, of upcoming impending results and all that. So when you went to Africa and Jamaica and the nudist resort, yes, I heard that.
yeah.
When you went to these places. Um, had you already scheduled these tests?
I'm glad you said it because it's
I'm
funny
asking because I'm wondering
yes,
what's on your mind while you're in these places.
and I scheduled the test right before the Jamaica trip.
You did.
I
Okay.
had Jamaica and Alaska
So
back
you
to
knew it
back.
was coming. You knew it was
I,
coming.
I knew that the biopsy was coming, but when I went in, I actually had the appointment before the Jamaica trip, the day before. I went into that appointment and I was getting prepped and everything. But when the doctor, the nurse or whoever came in, and she was just like, "Okay, so after this, we're gonna go in." They told me about the needle and going in, pulling tissue. That I wouldn't be able to get in a shower or like the salt water, the pool. I was like, wait a minute, I'm going on vacation tomorrow. And I said, well, I might have to reschedule because that's what I'm planning to do. Everything you just said I can't do. Like, so I actually rescheduled that appointment out. It was like, I think I might have pushed it out 2 weeks because I had the Jamaica for a week and then I had an Alaskan cruise, literally back to back trips.
Mhm.
And so I went on those two trips. I got back from I went out of Seattle from the Alaskan cruise. So that came back on a Sunday. My biopsy was on a Tuesday,
Uh,
that Tuesday.
so
So
while
I
you're on
skipped it.
these trips,
I didn't
um,
think about it. I
yeah,
was just,
think about it. It wasn't on your mind at all. Okay, I was wondering. I have to know this. It has nothing to do with the topic of our discussion. But where'd you go in Jamaica?
Jamaica, I went to a resort called Hedonism too.
I know. Okay.
Yeah. So that was on my, like, just a bucket from just being separated and,
Yep.
just, I was just
That's a good
having that
spot. Yes.
freedom.
Yep.
I knew that I wanted to do a few trips before I was going to try to work it out back with my husband. I was like, you know what? We're at a distance. He want to give me this time away. I'm going to take full advantage. And by the end of that year, which was 2018, I was going to work my way, like just fix it, go back and, just try to see, mend everything. So,
All right.
um, yeah, so I did Jamaica and Alaska in July and in September. September, I think 18th was the biopsy, and September 27th is when I found out that I had cancer in
All right. And
2018.
once you came to terms with the fact that you indeed did have cancer, what was your clinical diagnosis?
They initially told me that I wasn't even stage one. They were gonna
Right.
do a lumpectomy, but
Mhm.
I had because of the insurance and everything. It looked like it worked out where I opted to do the double mastectomy, and
Mhm.
then the reconstruction surgery after I knew I was gonna be able to get my breast back. You
Mhm.
know, but they said it would be like a 8 week gap in between
Sure.
of not having breasts to, and then
Wow.
depending on, and then they told me they didn't even really know my stage until they go inside. They were gonna go inside, so I was prepared. So September 27th, I found out I had cancer, and November like 21st was the surgery to remove both breasts the
Okay.
same year. The day before that surgery, they called me in. I thought it was going to go over the prep again. They said that my CT scan had came back that
Mhm.
showed that the cancer had was out of my breast, that it left the breast and went inside of my bones, and then they had mentioned that it was in my sternum and my pelvis bones and in my spine. I had lesions, and that I was stage 4.
Mhm.
So, and then I was just like, what?
Yeah. Wow.
Another shocker right there, because like, and then my husband was in there with me, and I saw him shed a tear before me. That kind of made me upset because he was like, I almost felt like he gave up, like when he heard stage 4, because he had shed, like he cried before me, and I was pissed, like not at that moment, but thinking about it, like when but anyway, I was in shock because, September to November leading up to that time, I never even researched 3 or 4. I was looking at 1 in stage 2, and I was seeing 90 and 80 something percent, you know,
Survival.
and I didn't want to look past that. You know what I'm saying? Like I never looked at 3 or 4 because I'm like, they told me I wasn't even touching 1 yet.
Right. Why,
They
why would
really,
you look at it? Of course. Yeah.
yeah, they
Yeah.
really wasn't sure until they go inside it into the surgery, but they were like, don't worry. It's just I'm always believing these damn doctors with the don't worries and don't this and oh, they fucking know, and they don't know. You know what I'm saying? So it's
I
just
do. I know what you're saying.
um
Yeah.
so
So, man, in a very short period of time, you go from ostensibly healthy, normal life, and now you are having both breasts taken. Now you have stage 4 bone cancer. This all happens pretty fast. Um, did you fall apart? Do you keep your life together? What was your
well,
experience like?
they said they couldn't take the breast and that I needed to start chemotherapy right away. And I didn't
Okay.
know shit about chemotherapy. I didn't know anything about chemotherapy. I'm like, what's that? I heard of it, but what they were like, they were like, you're young, you seemingly really healthy. We're gonna treat this very aggressive, because you could take.
Aggressive chemotherapy. That's always fun. Yeah.
So, and I was I'm like, and they were like, we're gonna try to get you in next week. I was like, what? So here I am trying to research that, figure that out. Didn't know, you mentioned chemo to someone or cancer to someone, and that's another thing that was hard to, when every time you mention it that you have cancer to someone, the first thing that they tell you is about a story of a family member that passed away, that died or whatever. And like, don't
Good
even tell them you stage
sensitivity.
4. Don't even mention your stage when they ask, oh, what stage are you?
Yep.
Oh, because then
You know what
researching.
they're going to do then? They're going to do what I talked about up front when I was introducing you. They're going to go into doom and gloom mode. And man, it's a choice, isn't it? How you're gonna look at it and how you're gonna treat it. And I want to hear about your chemotherapy experience if you don't mind.
Mhm,
I want to tell you briefly. For those who don't know what it is out there, I'm guessing most people do. It essentially is the injection of poisonous chemicals into
mhm,
your bloodstream to kill cells. Now, if you have cancer, those cells are the weakest cells you can have in your body. It doesn't mean it can't kill you because we all know it can. But what happens is a byproduct of the chemo killing the cancer cells, it attacks other cells. That's why we lose our hair. That's why we get sick because of the lining of our stomach. Now, we talked about people really feeling what you went through, how bad it was. For me, Benita, I had 3 years of chemo, pretty solid, almost nonstop, very high level poisonous, 4 different drugs cocktail. so
Mhm.
poisonous. I had to have it as an inpatient. I could never be out because I had to stay hooked up to the IVs and hydrated and monitored and all that. And I was in high school, mind you, wrestling at the time. I went from very healthy, 125 pounds, down to 85 pounds. I looked like a walking concentration camp survivor. I lost every single hair on my body, eyebrows, I mean, everything. Mostly it attacked my stomach and my veins though. And my veins constantly felt like they were on fire and that they were ripping from the inside out, from like hands down to feet. And the stuff was so poisonous for my stomach, I threw up literally 30 to 40 times a day. And after time one or two, there's nothing in there. So you're just throwing up your own guts basically. And it felt like my stomach was also being stabbed from every direction at the same time. It was basically like living in hell the entire, like in hellfire the entire time. What was yours like?
I it was every other week, and it was the red. They called it the red devil juice, whatever. I don't know. It was like a the slow one they had to give you, and then the drip, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just, and I lost every piece of hair and everything. But I think during that chemo time, I had to do like 8 or 9 or 10 sessions of it. I just know it was from like March to May. Like no, I'm sorry, November to like March or something like
Right.
that. But that's when I went into like, oh my gosh, I have to get my family back, my husband back. So during that time, I had discovered through my sister, because she had, I that he she I found out that he had another girlfriend, and during that time in our separation, and by that time we were already separated almost close to a year,
Why
but
did you why did you feel you needed them back?
I when I found out I had cancer, that's when because I was already planning. I never thought I lost him.
Okay.
Even though we were separated, I thought like, okay, this is working out. Like we're getting along so great, even though I'm like over here, he's there. I'm still staying in the house a few days here, and then I'll go back and stay over here with my mom. And you know what I mean? I had like a space over, and the kids loved it. They would come here, hang out, and then I'll be over there. Like it was just it was lovely for me and for him. Like we weren't trying to. It worked out. But after I found out I had cancer, I was like, you know what, I have to get back. And like, by that time, he was in a relationship, with someone that he not was in love with or whatever, but he found a connection with someone, and I dealt with that more so. I think that weighted heavier than the chemo and everything. I pushed through it because I didn't want. I was like almost in like competition mode when it came to another woman. And then I've never in my life ever compared myself to another woman when it came to him or whatever, because I was very confident within myself. But when I found out about this other woman, that's when I didn't have any hair. That's when I was going through the chemo and I lost all my hair and I was losing a little bit of weight, and like I was like video. I think I'm a heavy journal. Like I journal throughout the whole entire time. Started journaling like months before I got cancer. My mom put a journal in my hand in July, and I found out I had cancer in September. So I never stopped. So it was like perfect. You know what I mean? So I have a whole bunch of journals, but um,
So
so I mean, and I tried everything in that time. Like I pushed through the chemo, and I like, and I didn't even really make it to the end of my term because I was breaking down so bad. Like I just felt like I was just dealing with so much emotional stuff when it came to my relationship portion and trying to get him back, even though I felt like I had him back physically. I didn't have him emotionally. He was texting her in my chemo sessions,
oh
like
yeah,
he was gone. He was
that's
like
more important, isn't
feeling
it?
forced that he had to be there for me. That's how he was gone, and he's still so and I think like, so anyway, after dealing with all the chemo and all that stuff like that, I that summer, once the kids got out of school, I decided to jump in my car. I talked to my kids and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go visit some family in Georgia. I have cousins and stuff like that, aunts and uncles from my dad's side. On the way, and my kids gave me the green light. Go ahead, mom, whatever, you know. I told them I'd write them, you know, like. But anyway, on my way driving to Georgia, something was telling me, drive to California, drive to Cali, drive to Cali, drive to Cali, drive, like just go, like drive, you know, like. So I started plotting out my like I'm gonna drive to California. I'm gonna drive to Cali and back, and I can do this in 2 weeks. I'll just give myself a week to go, and a week to come back. I start YouTubing people doing it,
Mhm.
and I bought a tent. You know, like the camp.
Nice.
You know, I bought the KOA membership. You know,
I've done a trip before. I
I,
know what you're talking about.
yeah,
Yep.
I Airbnb. You know, I stayed in like rented a room in people's houses, so I wouldn't be by myself. I was never really by myself. At the KOAs was like you met people, and it was just great. Um, I met a great family on that Alaskan cruise right before I found out I had cancer, so they had kept up with me throughout the whole time. Like, you know, they knew about that I had a biopsy coming up, so I had stopped through to see them, and I ended up staying with them like a whole month. They had
Oh wow.
all this stuff planned for me to do, and because by that time they found out I had the cancer, and this is pre me finding out that I'm now in remission, but I didn't know that then. So they were doing so we were like having a blast. They really, you know, laid out the red carpet as far as like having me doing experiences like white water rafting and taking me into the mountains and
Wow.
Boise and Sun Valley, Idaho, which was like beautiful. You know, they took me to Yosemite National Park and through Jackson Hole, like and Montana and Wyoming and all these different little patches of like beautiful little towns that you know we don't even think about in big cities in Miami and like LA and you know like New York, you know, cities and stuff like that. But um yeah, so I felt like that was just a beautiful, beautiful trip, a beautiful experience. When I got back home, I did some CT scans, some tests, and the doctors pulled me in a room and told me that they couldn't they my cancer wasn't lighting up and that I was in remission. And you know, initially that same doctor told me I would never really hear that word, that I will always be fighting or treating my cancer. You know, I will, you know, being treating my cancer. And so I did have some tests done that showed that my cancer, I didn't have the BRCA gene, where it was, you know, my kids that would go to my daughters, but I'm still gonna push for them to have tests early, exams early, just because of me. And they couldn't find cancer, like they said it wasn't lighting up, and so I'm, you know, right now my cancer is estrogen driven, so I can't have any estrogen flowing through my body because they said it was fertilizing my cancer. So they had to. I'm on a hormonal therapy right now,
So
where
estrogen and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
yes,
Right.
yeah,
Same stuff male bodybuilders take. Right.
okay.
Yes. So you're in remission. This all happened. It's kind of a whirlwind how this all went down. How philosophically speaking, how do you think having cancer, hearing that you had the type of cancer you'd always be fighting, you'll never be in remission. Now you are in remission. How did this whole experience change you, or did it change you?
Um, it has changed me. It has changed me. It has changed me a lot. It has. I know that I don't want people to, I don't want to run around like, oh, I have cancer, pity me, oh, pity me. Like, you know, I show myself a lot on like social media doing things because I want to show people that, yeah, I have cancer, but I'm still out here like living life and still doing stuff. I'm not sitting here like boohoo me, like not to say because I do have emotion. I'm very emotional when it comes to it, and like I'm still trying to figure it all out. I don't even think it really has hit me because I'm going through so many other things that it's just like I'm still here, and it's not. I'm not sick. I don't feel sick. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to give it life. You know what I mean? Because I have so much other stuff I want to do, and I'm doing it, and I just but I still go to treatment. I go to treatment once a month for the hormonal therapy, and I get scans every 3 months, the CT scans and the bone scans to
Right.
let me
Every
know
3 months. And those
every.
those intervals will become wider and wider apart as
They
time.
won't let. I just try to push for 6 months because I just did like three different 3 months,
Okay.
and they were like, okay, we'll do 4. So I
Well,
mean,
you'll
they
get to 6 months, and you'll get to a year, and
yeah.
then you'll be like me. You're supposed to go every year, and you forget, and you go 2.5 years later. So,
Uh,
right?
I'm shocked. Even if you forget, I'm thinking they normally push for it because the doctors, they're like, I guess I don't know, but it has changed me because it's just um, I realize that when you have cancer, that doesn't mean that someone's gonna want to take you back and want to take care of you. I mean, my husband, soon to be ex-husband, I thought he was like my best friend. You know what I mean? And um, not to say I didn't do some things in the relationship to hurt him, or like I wasn't perfect and he wasn't perfect, and we're both like great parents, and I think that's what hurts me the most with everything because I just feel like I thought like he would have just stopped everything he was doing just to be there for me. I feel like I really pushed myself throughout this whole thing because when people see me, they don't see like a sick Benita. So like, um,
Good.
I really haven't had anybody like to take care of me, and I don't want to ever get myself sick where I feel like I need someone to take care of me because how it's changed me is when I look around and I see people like everybody's still living their life and they're moving and and um, what I tell myself is if something was to happen to me and I wasn't here anymore, I'm sure they'll cry that day or up until my funeral. But everybody's gonna go back into their life and continue to live their life. So I have to continue to live mine while I have it, you know.
I think, Benita, that my prediction is you're going to see some pretty big shifts in your life. I'm really listening and taking this in and thinking about all experiences, mine and other people that I know. And I think the shifts that you're going to have are going to be pretty profound and really powerful for you. I see it coming. Um, and I'm sorry things didn't work out the way you wanted them
Oh,
to.
sorry, I got emotional. Like it's
No,
just
get emotional. That's completely fine. And I'm sorry things didn't work out the way you wanted to with with
yeah,
with your husband. But I think, and I don't mean to sound casual about this, but okay, I'm sorry it didn't work out. I mean that I do.
yeah,
Obviously, now after a 17-year investment, you put that kind of investment and you want it to pay off. I know that it's a huge disappointment, but I think you have to know now that it wasn't meant to work,
yeah,
which which means there's something better out there. And as far as taking care of yourself, you have done that. And
mm,
from my vantage point, what I know of you is you're a really good example of that. And what I want to say is this, as far as future worry and getting sick again and having somebody there, like when I had cancer, I was young, I was 16 to 19. So I had my family there and I had a support system of friends. And that support system makes a lot of difference. But
yeah,
my last medical go around 2013 to 2016, where I was given a 2 month survival prognosis. This was not that long ago. I was by myself. I ended up sick, deathly sick, on the verge, living homeless in my car with my 3 pit bulls, advocating for myself, depressed, drug addicted, the whole 9 yards. I mean, a mess. And then I started a shift during it. And I'm like, I can do this, and things started to change drastically and radically, and I really started to do things for myself and advocate for myself. And I got to a point where the resentment or the bitterness of not having my friends or family there, it went away.
yeah.
And I'll tell you what I know now and how I look back on it. I'm in such a good place right now. I don't have a significant other, but I feel like I'd be in a place where I feel so strong myself and who
Yeah.
I am and where I am that if I did, it'd be like perfectly complimentary. I know I can take care of myself now.
Yeah.
I know if I had cancer again, I know I'd have people now, but if I didn't, I know I could take care of myself. That
Yeah.
leaves you in a way better position to have somebody in your life that has meaning, I think, than worrying about someone who doesn't even exist yet, maybe being there or not being there for you. I just wanted to say that. So
Yeah, that makes sense. A whole lot of sense.
we don't want to
So
go
you have
through that.
to get
I know.
yourself together as a whole, and once you become comfortable within yourself as a whole, you know that other person will compliment you. It's not like you feel like you need them. Like you shouldn't feel like you need anybody, you know.
Right,
And I'm
right.
trying to get myself there. It's just, I'm still just, going
And
through it a
that's
little bit.
when I said a shift is coming. 'Cause I know you're going to get there. I can see that.
Mhm.
Sometimes you can't see it when you're in it yourself.
Yeah,
So I'm asking you to take a leap of faith and believe that it's coming.
I
That's
believe it. I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. I write
and
about it all the time too. It's my journal.
wow.
Yeah.
And I would say this, for people that will watch what we're doing today once we post it, that people that are in it and don't have hope or have very little hope, that they're looking at two people right now, right here, that were supposed to be dead,
Yeah.
and that have hope. And I think it's important. I get a lot of my strength by being an example for other people because I want to show them what they can do for themselves and what can happen for them. And I see you already as a very good example of that. I think you're going to become stronger and stronger at that. So I wanted to say that.
Mhm.
So
And
what's next? What's coming up that's fun?
um, I just right now my kids are playing, travel soccer, and I love it. I love it, love it, love it because it helps me to get out and travel and just see and support them, and I feel like I'm there for them, cheering their number one fan, and it gets me out there taking pictures of them, spending time with them, um, you know, and it fills up the day on the weekends,
Are
if
you the
we're
mom
like.
that beats up the other parents and the referees?
No, I'm the quiet mom actually that
Okay.
just sits there and just they see that I'm there. We have our little thing they do if they do something good. I always tell them to look for me. But I probably look like one of those loud, crazy parents on the sideline, but I'm really, really, really quiet. I'm
I
there
wouldn't.
with my journal writing stuff, and
Yeah.
like a lot of the parents are like, "Are you?" Because my kids are really good. They're thinking I'm journaling about my kids' soccer journey, and I'm just kind of like just writing little notes and things that they do out there and the time that they do it, and because I feel like I have over like 20 something journals. I feel like someone's gonna find it, and they're gonna see it, and the kids, and it's very raw, like so.
Maybe
Yeah,
you'll publish them one day. Who knows, huh?
I don't know about. I just leave them. Somebody will find them.
Okay. All
You
right.
want to find them? You have all my travels are in there too. My cross country venture, like all my doctor's appointments, like just everything's in there. Just the good
Wow.
high times.
I wish I had all of that stuff. Where'd you go in Africa? I wanted to ask you that too.
So I went to South Africa. We flew into Durban, and
I've
so
My best experience of my life was in Durban, South Africa. Actually,
mhm,
yes. Go on, please.
yeah. So we flew into Durban. We rented a car. My mother and I went, and we drove to Johannesburg, and so
Hmm.
we did some time there. And we went to the little town called Soweto. I remember that.
Nelson Mandela's birthplace.
Yep. Yep. And so we went to Nelson Mandela's like home where he
I was
stayed.
in that same house. I know.
Oh yeah, the little house there.
Yeah, little.
Yeah, yeah. And then it was perfect time that we went because it was his 100th birthday. So they were celebrating that there. So I got a lot of history during that time. It was like perfect timing for us to go. And so that was pre-cancer, so I was able to do that trip with my mom. I booked the trip, so I booked it because it's a very, very long flight. I booked it where we had a layover in Dubai for 24 hours,
Yep.
going and coming back. So going with the layover was at night. So we saw the nightlife of Dubai, how beautiful it was, lit up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So and then we went to the mall. The mall was open till like 3, 4 in the morning. The huge mall they have there by the
Yeah. I've been.
Cleveland.
It's amazing. How about that airport? Oh my God.
Yeah, the
That's really
airport. Yeah, it was just huge. It was huge. It was huge. It was huge. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and then the heat was crazy. It was so hot. It was so hot. But yeah, so that was a good. So and then on the way back, the 24-hour layover in Dubai was beautiful because I wanted the experience. I definitely wanted to ride the camel and do
mhm.
the go into the desert, do the dune buggy. So we got in some like Land Rovers, and they did the little. My mom got so sick. She was so sick, and then and then we rode the camel, took the pictures out there, and so that was cool. Yeah, we did that.
So
So
any adventures planned? Anything you want to do? What's coming up?
um. I haven't had the itch to like, I love to travel, but I just really, I know when it's time, I'll be ready. I am looking to get a camper, like, an RV to travel
Uh,
domestically.
Facebook. Yeah, that looks cool.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I mean, I would love to come to Hawaii,
You
but
got to visit Hawaii. It's awesome out here. It really
yeah,
is.
definitely, yeah, that's on the bucket list too. Definitely, yeah, I have to make that trip.
That'd be
I
fun
just
to
When I think about Hawaii from living in Florida, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be on that long flight. It's gonna be a
do.
long, long, long
It's
flight,
a long ways
the
between, not
whole
as
day.
long as South Africa, but it's still a trip.
But
Yeah.
I'll get my day back. I'll get
Yes,
my day back.
coming this way. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. So on the RV, here's what I want to ask you about. Not so
Yeah.
much the detail of the RV. I love that idea, by the way. So that's something like that you're looking forward to in life, right?
Yes. Yes.
So when you were diagnosed with stage 4, you're probably gonna die cancer. Could you imagine having looked forward to things like cruising America in an RV?
I didn't think I would get it in my car. If you'd have told me that that Benita was getting in her car and was gonna drive from Florida to California and back through 25 states, I would have looked at you like I would by
So
myself, solo. I would have been like, that's crazy. If you would have told me that on my birthday last year that I would be jumping out of an airplane, skydiving in Las Vegas, I would have looked at you and like, Benita is not jumping out no damn airplane. Y'all crazy. Like, no, I did that. I went to Daytona with my mom to a sewing convention. That's why I told you we were going through it. And
yeah.
I saw the slingshot. You ever seen the YouTube video?
Uh, yeah,
They have a slingshot in
those are
Daytona
nutty. Those
on
are
the
nutty.
water right there on the
Yeah.
beach. I walked over, I left that sewing convention that was right there by the slingshot and went out. I told my mom, I said, Mom, I'll be right back. I'm going to the bathroom. She was like, okay. And then I walked across the street and went on the slingshot and did that. You know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
pre remission, so it's like I did that, and so I would never ever I would have been like, Benita, I'm not getting on that. Like, so I've done some things. I've been very open to doing things because I already know the cancer is it probably is what's going to take me out, but I'm not going to worry about it. At least I
That
think,
to me sounds like this one way that it changed you.
yeah,
You
I
opened up
know
to
what
things.
I have, and a lot of us are dying. We are all dying, but a lot of us don't know what's going on. I know what's going on with me, so I can live, and that can keep going on. I'm gonna keep doing this over here. I already know this is happening right here. So that's how I move each day.
All right. So I want to challenge you now. People out there that listen to you. So you were sick, you were diagnosed, you probably weren't going to survive. And then you're out now after that doing all these things. People out there that are in it think they're never going to do anything again. What do you have to say to them?
I would say go out there and do as much as you can do because I truly feel like that saved me. That saved me because it's just like once you get out there and start doing things, you realize there's so much more that you want to do and just keep doing it and don't let nothing stop you. Like, just enjoy life because at the end of the day, if you were to die, all these materialistic things that we have around us, you can't take none of this shit like with you. It cannot. And then at the end of the day, how I think about it, who's gonna be left here fighting over it? So just kind of like I'm very simple right now. I've minimalized my life. Very, I'm very minimal. I don't have a connection to things, materialistic things. I'd rather save my money and spend it on experiences,
Yeah.
especially, just doing things and getting out there. I love the outdoors. And that's what's been working for me.
And it's I look forward to getting to be a passenger and witnessing your continued evolution here. I really do. Uh, I hope you see it, but I see you as in a really good place and getting better and better. And please stay on the message boards. I mean, you'll continue to inspire people there, and that will bolster your strength and your conviction for sure. And man, it's really good to see you after corresponding on the phone and online. It's nice to actually see you, and
Yeah.
I'm really glad we've connected. And let's please continue to build our friendship and hold each other up. Yeah.
Yes, I can do that. Sounds like a
So,
plan.
really appreciate it. We're at an hour. I know it's late your time. Thanks for doing it this late
Oh, yeah.
on the East Coast there. And Benita, you were wonderful. Thanks so much for being on our show today.
Thank you for having me.
I'll talk with you soon. Okay.
All right. Bye.
Bye bye. And that's Benita Butler from Florida, where it's 11 p.m. It's only 5 p.m. here in on Maui. Got the whole day in front of me yet. Um, yeah, I mean, moral of the story. You guys know I'm always pounding the same thing in, but it's this: even if you don't think so right this moment, there is always hope. With a slight shift of consciousness, there's always hope. Rick Bassman here for Talking Tough. Even though it's early, it's the end of a couple very long days for me. I'm gonna go hang out with my doggies and probably call it an early one. Take care. See you all soon. Aloha.